This is the Rebel Scum Podcast. Available in video on YouTube and audio wherever you listen to your podcasts. Every week, Brock and James talk the latest rumors, news, and theories from a galaxy far, far away. Support us on Patreon for exclusive offers and join the Star Wars discussion. Patreon.com/RebelScumPodcast. Here are your hosts, Brock and James.
You are always scum. Rebel scum.
Well, it ain't Brock and James today. This is the Outlander Club. I am James. Joining me on the Outlander Club is Phil Staniforth, our Patreon supporter. How you doing?
Oh, I'm very good, thanks. I'm very good. Excited to be here. It's been a while.
It's been a long time, hasn't it?
It has.
I feel like it's a shifting continents, is what.
Literally a shifting
Literally.
continent.
And you are a continent away. And you are still, because this is airing late December, you're still celebrating England's second World Cup victory, which just happened in the middle of the month.
Yeah. I'm still crying into my cereal for the inevitable quarterfinal exit.
It's coming. But you never know. By the time this airs, maybe you'll be jumping up and down.
Yeah. If we are, I mean, I will eat my hat or a hat.
Someone's hat. Rooney's hair.
Rooney's hair. He's long gone, Rooney.
No, that you're going to grab his hair off him.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is the Outlander Club where we hear your Star Wars stories. So we're going to talk about your Star Wars story, how you got into it, how you got out of it, how you got back into it, and what you love and what not about Star Wars. So let's get right into it, Phil. Take me back. Do you remember the very first time you experienced the galaxy far, far away?
I do. I do remember. Well, the first time I remember seeing it, I'm pretty sure I would have seen it before at a very young age. But the first time I remember seeing it was they used to show Star Wars on terrestrial television. Like BBC or ITV, it would have been probably around 1989. I would have been about 6 or 7, 89 or 90, and we would have had it videotaped with the adverts and everything. So there would have been. I always remember actually that Return of the Jedi always had an advert after Han gets released from the carbonite and Chewie meets him in that sort of in the cave, and he sees him for the first time and he can't see. I remember distinctly there being an advert right then, and I remember having to fast forward on the machine because there was no remote control, just going up to the thing and fast forwarding to around. So it was probably, I'd say it was probably like very late 80s, early 90s. I would have watched it. The reason for my love for Star Wars probably comes from my brother, who is 10 years older than me. So he was born in 73. So he would have seen probably all of them in the cinema the first time round. Episode 4, he would have been like 5, I guess. So he would have seen Empire and Return of the Jedi in the cinema. And he was a massive fan, had all of the figures, like the original time, the first time around they came, all of the original figures he had. He's still got a couple of them in the loft. He's got some kind of grudge against me because I think I'd buried a lot of them in the garden when I got them handed down to me. But so that was pretty much. I can always remember in my life Star Wars being in my life from the very first memories I had. We used to watch it every Christmas, like episode 4, 5, and 6. Pretty much non-stop all the time, but on video cassette, which was with the commercials and really odd commercials in there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But you think your first introduction was the toys?
My first introduction would have been my brother watching the movies on video cassette and playing with his toys, and he was probably in control of the rebels, and I probably had to be some random stormtrooper who he'd destroy at some point. Yeah, but I did.
Grandma.
Yeah, it was the I can't remember what they're called actually. It was like I remember having one that I always used to use. It was like the purple. It was like a dignitary, a purple kind of dignitary from Return of the Jedi. Maybe I can't remember. But yeah, that from growing up with the toys, with my brother's toys, and then getting into myself, and then I would have been sort of like, I don't know how I'd have been, maybe 14, 15 when the sequels came out, I guess. 15, 16 maybe, nearly.
Yeah. So what was that
Sorry,
like?
prequels.
Prequels, yeah.
Yeah.
After, so the movies come out, you watch them all on your VHS tape.
Mhm.
For kids who don't know what that is, Google it. And you did the tracking, and you had to go
Yeah,
fast forward,
exactly.
which was because I'm with you. We didn't watch it every Christmas, but we watched Christmas Vacation every Christmas with Chevy Chase,
Yeah.
and it was on the same tape as Return of the Jedi. So I had to fast forward past Return of the Jedi to get to Christmas Vacation, and that was put on me. My dad would be like, "Go set it up," because you know. And I wanted to go do it, but every year I would fast forward and I would hit play too early, and I would get sucked into Return of the Jedi every Christmas.
Yeah.
Whether I was like diehard into Star Wars at the time or not, I always got sucked in because that movie is just amazing.
Yeah.
But what happened in between that and the prequels? Now, did you do like the kind of like me where you went dark for that period of time? Or were you reading the books into anything like that, or
I
how did
was
you
not
react yourself?
reading the books really. I remember the first time I remember when I was older, because it was always a thing in our house was Star Wars, was every Christmas, and my brother used to love it, so I used to watch it all the time. But the first time I really remember getting back into it, actually, they re-released them in the cinemas in England. They did the
Special editions.
the special edition, right, where you had like the song in Return of the Jedi, the one with the lips thing.
I like that's your go-to on this.
Yeah, like
most people go with Jabba the Hutt or the Death Star, and you're like, remember the song they
the
had?
song with the lips and stuff. So they actually
Yes.
re-released them all in the cinema. Yeah. So I did see them all again in the cinema, and then they released like I remember collecting sticker albums and stuff like that when they re-released them. So I was probably, I'm not sure if I was like 11 or 12 or maybe even 13 when they really re-released those. So I did go and see those, and actually they were the first kind of movies that I went to see with my friends rather than go with my parents to the cinema. I'd go with my friends to watch Star Wars because it's like, wow, Star Wars is in the cinema. You know, I've never seen it in the cinema before. I've only ever seen it on like a TV. You know.
Yeah. Did your brother or parents care to see it in the theaters?
My brother did, but he would have been.
Yeah,
he did, but he would have been living away by that point, so he would have been sort of in his mid-20s. So he was actually living a different part of the country. So it was a time. Yeah.
So that's what I'm asking, because he saw them originally. Now he's at that age where, you know, maybe he's too cool to like Star Wars. So I'm just curious. No, never too cool. And plus you watch it.
My brother's never been too cool to watch it. He still watches it now. Like we talk about,
awesome.
The first thing we talk about is Star Wars. Like
Star Wars.
Yeah.
And you watch it do you still watch it every Christmas? Is it still a tradition you've brought through with you?
We do. We pretty much watch the original trilogy. We'll watch. Yeah. We watch the original trilogy along with Home Alone and like other movies like Baby's Day Out and things like that. But generally Home Alone and then the Star Wars original trilogy we'll watch every Christmas. Yeah, because we'll all go back to my mum's house for Christmas. So for
do you watch it on digital, on DVD, Blu-ray, or VHS?
Now we'll watch it on Disney Plus, I guess.
Yeah, Disney Plus. Yeah.
Not even my mum's got a VHS anymore.
Nah, I just watched it a little while ago. My in-laws have a VCR, and they have the special editions on VHS widescreen.
I've got the silver one, which is the widescreen one. Yeah, I've got that in the box set. Yeah.
Do they have the silver? Maybe they don't have the widescreen. Maybe it's I can't remember.
There's a gold one and a silver one. I think the silver one is like the widescreen edition. I can't remember either way around.
Yeah.
But it's,
Anyway, I know what you're talking about. It's fascinating that physical media is fascinating for Star Wars. Did you get into Shadows of the Empire? The one, like the story, because it was the story between Empire and Jedi, and it was Dash Rendar, if you remember, and there was a book, a comic, a video game, and a soundtrack and action figures all at once.
No. What I remember originally, I read Splinter of the Mind's Eye. I read,
yeah,
and I also played a game called Wing Commander, which
Yes.
Mark Hamill actually was on it. Like he's full acting in it and everything, and like in the cutscenes and things, and he's in that. And I played that. And what else did I see at that time? At that time, I've got a few old comics, like the older comics, from the original sort of series that my brother handed down to me, like from the 70s and the early 80s. But not really. No, I played Wing Commander, and Splinter of the Mind's Eye I read, and a couple of those other ones. There was it Heir to the Empire or something like that? Was it? Did you say? Was it
Shadows of the Empire?
Oh, yeah. I can't remember the one I read.
There was Heir to the Empire was the Thrawn books. Yeah.
There was one called, wasn't there one called Heir to the Empire or something?
Yeah, with Grand Admiral Thrawn. Yeah.
Was that? I can't remember. Yeah, I did read a couple of those. Yeah, but it was a long time ago, and yeah,
and you moved on.
I can't really remember most. I can't remember. Yeah, there was. I remember there was one that was like it had Han Solo was in it. Yeah, I can't remember the name of it, to be honest, but yeah, I did read a couple of books. It went dark for a little period before the prequels came out, like where I was into girls and and football and things.
Was that before the special editions?
Was
that in between the special editions and the prequels?
Kind of in between, right? So like when I was maybe 14, 15 at school, and it kind of went dark for a bit, and then the prequels came out, and then I was pretty much straight back into that.
So what got you into the prequels? Aside from obviously it's Star Wars is back in the theater, was it that trailer for the Phantom Menace? Did you watch that on QuickTime when it came out 30, 20, whatever years ago, or did you see it on television? How did that work?
No, well, I would have seen the trailer in the cinema because I was always kind of an avid cinema goer even then. So I saw that. I remember going to a movie. I don't even know what it was now, but I remember going to a movie because the Star Wars trailer was actually, people were told the Star Wars trailer is showing before this movie. So I remember going to no idea what that movie was. And also back then there was a video music channel called I think it was called a Box or something like that, and it had the Phantom Menace, the Duel of the Fates song, and you had to ring up and request the video, those kind of things. And I remember
the glory days.
Yeah. I remember ringing up and pressing. You have to press the number, and then it sort of plays the video for Duel of the Fates, and it was like a music video. And I remember watching that over and over and over again, like on those sort of MTV. It was like MTV, but like a poor man's MTV.
Yeah, we had some of that here.
Yeah, you have to ring up and request songs and stuff. Yeah, so I remember that song really. I was so excited because it was almost like a trailer because it had the footage from the movie. And Darth Maul was like really in that trailer quite a lot,
More than the movie.
More than the movie, yeah. So I do remember watching that, yeah.
Okay, so your blood's boiling, you're pumped up, you're ready to go watch Phantom Menace. You get your ticket. Do you see it opening night?
I would have seen that. I was probably 15 or 16, 15, I think. So I don't think I saw it opening night. I would have seen it the first weekend because I would have probably had to have got the bus to the next town over that's got a cinema, because the town I grew up in actually doesn't have a cinema. So I would have gone with my friends on the opening weekend, and seen it. I think I went during the daytime. It was an early showing, like 2 p.m. or something. I would have gone with my friends, had a McDonald's, and gone to watch that. Yeah, and blown away really with that.
So you were blown away? Like, did Jar Jar set you off? Like anything like that, or were you just all?
I can't remember thinking too much about Jar Jar Binks until I was older. I was so excited about Darth Maul and Obi-Wan Kenobi at the time. That I wasn't like the two things that I never remember from that were the trade dispute at the beginning. I was kind of like, I was probably just looking at the screen going, wow, Star Wars is back, So I don't remember that, and I don't remember Jar Jar really. I was kind of just like, wow, Darth Maul's going to be in this soon, and Obi-Wan Kenobi hacking people up with lightsabers and stuff. Yeah, so I loved it. I really, really enjoyed it. I remember seeing the first one, just really, really enjoying it. Yeah, so I think I probably saw it 2 or 3 times in the cinema.
And if I pull up, we do ranking Star Wars every January 1st
Yeah,
on this. And if I pull up your list, it's right there. The number one on your list is The Phantom Menace. Right there, number one.
my
Phantom
list.
Menace.
It's probably top
It's
of
actually,
the. Is it top of the prequels?
yes. I
It
won't say
might.
where it is because I do like these lists to be
Yeah, it's
anonymous
probably
because,
top
you know,
of the
I
prequels.
will say
Oh, I don't
your
mind that.
Phantom Menace is
It's high. It's got a lot of
it's
good
high,
memories for
yeah,
me.
which I appreciate because it's high on my list as well. It's
Yeah, it's got a lot of good memories for me. Not just from it's just from the time, I think, as well. From
yeah,
being like still at school. You know, that was probably my last year at high school, like, or
yeah.
you know, so yeah, good memories that one.
It
Loved
was
it.
so much
I
fun
still
watching
watch.
it. Yeah,
It's probably the one I watched the most out of the prequels,
It-
prequels. Yeah.
yeah. It's still one of my. It's yeah.
Mm.
I love that movie. But was your excitement still there for the 3 years that followed to get the Attack of the Clones, or did it wane at all?
Um, it did. It waned a little bit because I was then coming to sort of 18, and pubs were calling and going out with my friends and stuff. So I think, yeah, I mean, I would have seen them all in the cinema. That's
Oh yeah,
goes without
we'll get
question.
there.
But
Yeah.
yeah, no, there was definitely a period. I think probably between the years of 18 and sort of 25, I guess. It did take a bit of a back seat, if I'm honest, really. Yeah.
But so you say, do you remember seeing Attack of the Clones in the theater? Do you know how soon into the release you saw it, and did you hate
I
it?
would have seen it opening weekend. I've seen
Yeah. Okay.
all of them on the
Yeah.
opening weekend, but I don't actually remember where I saw it, if I'm
Do you
honest.
remember how you felt afterwards?
Attack of the Clones? No.
Yeah.
No. Attack of the Clones is almost like I don't remember anything about watching it in cinema. Revenge of the Sith, I remember. Revenge of the Sith, I saw in in a big Odeon cinema in Brighton, which is one of the big ones. So I remember seeing that. But Attack of the Clones, I couldn't tell you where I was. If I'm
That's
honest.
kind of interesting because that's the
Yeah.
movie that I think most. I mean, Andrew Fantasia, absolutely, it's his favorite prequel. I really like Attack of the Clones, but
Yeah.
I vividly remember my first time watching it because I was very disappointed in my first time watching it. It took me 2 viewings to love it. Really quick. The second viewing, I liked it, but it's the movie that a lot of it's the Last Jedi of the prequels.
Yeah.
But it's the one
Kind
like almost unanimously, it's been on the bottom of everybody's list.
Yeah, it's not at the
Now,
bottom of mine,
no, it's not, and
but it's
no, there's a
probably
lot.
quite near to the bottom, I'd imagine.
It's yeah. So in the past,
Yeah.
so when we started this, it was almost everybody's bottom except for mine and
Yeah.
Andrew Fantasia's. And then as time has gone on, as the prequel kids have been joining us in the list, it's risen above bottom, but
Yeah.
it's always in like the bottom 5.
Yeah.
3 or
Yeah.
5 or so. Not for me or Andrew, but it's very low. And that's why I was just wondering if you remember your experience because that's the one that just everybody seems to just pile
Forget.
on.
I think it was just quite forgettable for me. It sounds awful, but like it was. It probably, if I was 16 and watched it, it probably would have been a lot better.
Yeah.
But because I was probably 18, 19, I was maybe, more focused on other things.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was probably just, it might have even been a little bit, it was because you had the stuff for the, for the kids that's in it, and you have stuff for the grown-ups that's in it. And I was probably in between that. And I was probably thinking, oh, a love story, I don't want this nonsense. I've got my own life to think about,
Yeah, I think that was my feeling too, was the love stuff kind of.
Yeah, it was a little bit wrong age for me, I guess.
Yeah, I think, and yeah, and I've talked about it a bunch of times for myself. But that's so 3 years have to go by now for you to get to another Star Wars movie, which you remember.
Yeah, for sure.
You're getting into pubs now. You're getting into girls. Things are happening. Your life. You're getting older. You still like Star Wars. Are you as excited when Revenge of the Sith is coming around?
I was really excited for essentially one reason, which was because I knew at some point Darth Vader is going to come as Darth Vader, and at the at the climax of the movie. No spoilers or anything, but I'm sure you've probably seen it. So I was
missed that
super excited to see
Yeah.
my. I always remember thinking, I wonder what Darth Vader is going to be like. Like, is it going to look similar? Because the movies don't look the same, right? Is it going to look similar? Is it going to feel the same as my Darth Vader, which was the original trilogy Darth Vader? And I just remember thinking, I wonder how they're going to do that transition between man and machine, essentially. Because we didn't know about the fight in Mustafar, yeah. So we didn't know how it was going to happen, right? So it was interesting to see how this boy would suddenly become this machine kind of monster. So I was really excited about that. I loved it. I thought they did it really well. I mean, it was a fantastic movie for me.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things that they really executed well. There's actually quite a bit in when you look at the prequels and you break it down. I think a lot of it is executed very well. And some of it is not. And I think that's the part that we cling to. Even with the sequels, we cling to the stuff that doesn't work more than the stuff that does work. And
I think the prequels have aged quite well. Like maybe not graphically with some of the battle scenes and stuff, but I think the stories actually aged pretty well. I think.
And I think that's a testament to George Lucas's vision and his idea. Because we went in, you and I, obviously, we went in with the same idea. This is going to be how Darth Vader becomes Darth Vader.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's about the Empire, right? It's more about the Empire.
It's more Darth about... Vader's Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I think that's why it holds up so well, right? Because it's about more than just one little thing. There's so much going on, and it was very well thought out.
I thought it was actually quite a really, especially quite a polished film. The Revenge of the Sith I thought was really well done. I enjoyed all of it. I thought it was great.
I think it's a phenomenal movie. It's probably probably the best sequel if you're going to argue them, or prequel. But it's not my favorite because Phantom Menace will always take the reins on that one. But...
And like, as much as like it's weird to say, I quite liked seeing really young Darth Vader, like Jake Floyd or whatever. Like, it was really weird to see, like, oh my god, this guy's going to be like,
he's going to be the bad guy,
the monster of the entire universe, galaxy.
See, I kind of thought the second movie would have, or not the second movie. I always thought that in like Attack of the Clones, Vader should have existed in the shadows, and the Jedi should have known about like a Jedi killer called Darth Vader out there, but no one knows that it's Anakin. He's kind of double.
Oh, so like he's a double agent or something.
Yeah, and then in the third one, it's like what's going on. But I really enjoyed Revenge of the Sith. Is one that grows on me every time I watch it. It gets better and better, and I just, like you said, I think the prequels really have aged quite well.
And Palpatine was unbelievable in those movies. In his portrayal of Palpatine. Yeah, what's his name? Ian McDermott. Was just incredible. I thought he like played it so well.
That's why I kind of want to see him on Andor. Like, but not as like a Sith,
but as a Chancellor.
As that guy back, and just kind of
he's just so creepy, but so sort of. Yeah, I thought he played it unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So good. He's so good.
Yeah, so good.
And I know people that didn't even believe that he was the Emperor after the Phantom Menace. They're like, no, it's a different guy. It's like, no, it's the same person.
I wasn't sure. Sure.
That's awesome.
Because I would have been like 15, 16. I was thinking, well, he kind of like, I was always thinking like, well, he kind of looks a little bit like, like the Emperor, but and he's mean, and he looks creepy, and he's kind of a bit dubious, but I don't think I actually clicked really until the final movie.
He's so genuine in the Phantom Menace, but there's a dissolve, like a wipe, and it comes up like this. And while the wipe, or it comes down, whatever, while it's going though, his facial expression goes from cheer to like kind of like creepy. Just like that, it cuts away. It's one of the great transitions of the prequels that gets overlooked by a lot of a lot of people, and it's
And you've got the
unfortunate.
opera scene, the space opera, which I think is fantastic. Even I watched that now, and like, this is so good. Like, the storytelling is it feels great when you watch it. I'm just like, oh yeah, like, you're explaining these things, and it just works quite well.
And you get to see more of the relationship with Anakin and
Yeah,
Palpatine, and like how they trust each other, and how he's
yeah,
being, and then when you watch it again, or if you know the first time, you're like, oh, he's manipulating
yeah,
Anakin.
yeah.
It's one of the best scenes in probably in Star Wars, the movies as a whole.
I think it's great.
Yeah. So now you've seen Revenge of the Sith. You're full on pub and woman mode. You've graduated. You've graduated school. You're done. Whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Your life goes on. No more Star Wars. George Lucas says, "Come on, no more Star Wars." What? Before we get to the Disney side of Star Wars,
Yeah.
after Revenge of the Sith, where were you at? Were you done with Star Wars? And when I say done with Star Wars, I don't mean like, I mean like you're just going to go back. You're content with what you've got, or were you looking for more? Were you getting into video games? Did Clone Wars come to you at all? Like, how did you react to Star Wars after Revenge of the Sith?
Honestly, I thought that was going to be it, because I thought George Lucas is never going to give this up. Like, he's never going to give it to somebody else. I didn't think that would ever happen. I thought, oh, he's going to, live, and he's going to retire, and he's going to go off into the sunset, and that's all, I guess, all the Star Wars we're going to get. And I was pretty happy with that, to be honest. I was like, well, if that's how it's going to be, like, I've enjoyed the ride, as it were.
Yeah.
I did. I at that point, I was probably starting to collect some stuff. Yeah, I was probably starting to collect, not so much collect, but get the old stuff out of the loft, because I actually got quite a lot of prequel stuff when it was coming out, but not necessarily the figures, but more like the random. Like, I've got a watch somewhere, which is like, I'd saved up on cereal boxes to get this like Phantom Menace watch, which I've still got.
Really?
Things like that. So I was getting those kind of things out of the loft and putting them on display and stuff. So I was actually getting into collecting a few things, but not too heavily, not too much. I honestly thought we wouldn't see any more Star Wars, if I'm honest. But I didn't feel bad about it or anything. I just thought, that's going to be it, and I'll continue watching those 6 movies forever, I guess. Yeah. It's just still as big as, still did the same Christmas stuff and watched it every Christmas with my brother and my family and stuff. And it never really went away.
But did you ever consider adding like a prequel here or there, or was it just strictly original trilogy?
No, we watched it. My brother was a massive fan of the prequels, so I did watch them. But like, it was kind of, we always went back to watching the original trilogies at Christmas.
There's a comfort in them, yeah.
There's a comfort in them. There's a familiarity about them, and like, yeah, we'd watch them together. Occasionally, like, we'd watch Phantom Menace or something like that. But I'd never ever thought we'd get any more Star Wars. So I was quite content with that. I was kind of like, well, that's what it is. We got 6 movies. I thought we'd only have 3. Now we've got 6, so I can watch those.
We were definitely on the same page, because we were done, and I was like, no, we're good. We're good. Like,
I wasn't too disappointed, really.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm with you, because now we're going to get to the Disney side of things. Mm-hmm. When the news broke, I texted Brock and my dad right away. I was like, this is amazing. I thought it was amazing news when it was announced that Disney had purchased Lucasfilm. And I was going off of Disney's track record with the MCU. At that point, I think they were just up to like the first Avengers movie, if they were that far. But things were looking good. They were doing a good job with what they had done with Marvel. So I saw this as, I mean, I think I would have seen it as a positive no matter what. But here, so I want to get to your thoughts on Lucasfilm has been purchased by Disney, and right away they're like, oh, and we're making 3 movies. We're doing episodes 7, 8, and 9. Do you remember where you were, what you were doing, and your initial reaction to all of those?
I remember my brother texting me, being like, "We're going to get more Star Wars." And I was kind of like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "Oh, well, Disney have bought Star Wars from George Lucas, and they're gonna make another trilogy. And initially, I thought, oh right, so what they're going to do is they're going to fund George Lucas to make the final trilogy. That's what I thought would happen, because I thought, well, he's not going to let them just buy everything. I thought that he would have some kind of input into that. And then he didn't, but which is like, it's, it wasn't really a good or bad thing for me. I just thought, oh great, we're going to get more Star Wars. Initially I was a bit kind of like, oh, Disney, like what they, are we going to get loads and loads of overkill?
They tried.
They did try, yeah, and they've tried their best. But I did think, I was a little bit like, oh, is it going to be almost made cartoonish? But I mean, they're going to give us 3 more Star Wars movies, so I was pretty happy, to be honest.
Yeah, it's hard to argue, right?
Yeah, so
well, you can complain.
I'll take 3 more Star Wars movies, seeing as I haven't had one for 15 years or whatever it was. Yeah.
So leading up to the Force, did that reignite your love? Did you go back? Did you collect more cereal boxes to get any more watches of anything?
I didn't. No, I didn't. I was waiting. I was definitely waiting to see what the first one would be like. I think I was a little bit anxious.
Yeah.
I guess I was kind of like, because once I knew that George Lucas wasn't doing it, I was kind of like, oh, so they're literally getting rid of the old guard and bringing in the new. Bringing in the new, essentially. So I was a little bit anxious. I didn't buy any of the Force Awakens merchandise, I don't think, before. Not too much.
No.
But obviously watched the trailers and got super excited about it. And once I saw the first trailer, I was like, okay, this looks all right.
Yeah. Do you remember that teaser trailer?
Yeah, I remember watching
it with Finn's face coming up.
I remember the one that sort of, it's got the sort of almost makes you jump, when he sort of moves up, and it's in the desert when he's found found the TIE fighter, right?
Yeah, there's been an awakening with that.
There's been an awakening, yeah.
One of the best teaser trailers for anything, I think. Like it was Star Wars. It felt like everything Star Wars.
Yeah, and then you get the Chewie we're home bit, which was good.
Yeah, Chewie we're home. Did you? I mean, I know you went to go see this opening weekend. Did you see it opening night? Did you see it I
saw it the next morning. My brother went the first showing, which was like a midnight showing or something. I went because he went to that one, and then went home to sleep and got up in the morning and picked me up, and we saw the first one the next morning. So it was his second showing. We went to like an independent cinema in Brighton, this town, quite near me, and we went to like an independent cinema. It was lovely, really nice, very relaxed atmosphere, like an old style cinema, and watched it. And really, really nice. Not the biggest screen, but like it felt like you were going to the cinema,
To see Star Wars.
Yeah.
So I have to ask you, because here getting tickets for that movie was a nightmare. I was at an event that night, so the trailer came out. I had to wait like hours to watch it. I PVR'd it was on Monday Night Football, American football. It was during that. How did I'm not, because I have no idea how you would have watched that trailer the first time. Do you remember? Was it on TV? Like, how did they drop? Because here it's on ESPN, right? So we get it right away. But you're on.
No, we wouldn't have got it. I wouldn't have seen the trailer. I'd probably watched the trailer on the internet, I guess.
Because ours connected with buying tickets, so it was like the trailer dropped and then tickets were on sale right after. Do you remember how that worked for you?
Oh yeah, where we live, like, it wasn't really a struggle for us to get tickets for that. Like my brother's a bit of a, I don't know what the word is, but like cinemaholic, kind of like I want to say cinephile, but that sounds really dodgy. But like I
think that's the word.
Is that the word?
Yeah.
But like so he's a member of this independent cinema.
Oh, okay.
So they do all kinds of movies all the time. It's like an art house cinema kind of thing. And if you remember, like, you get first refusal, and so he actually booked tickets. It was probably a couple of months in advance, but he did the tickets for the midnight showing, and then he also got tickets for the two of us to go, because he went on his own at midnight and then came and got me, and we went for the first showing in the morning. Yeah, so he would have done it probably a couple of months in advance.
So would you say he's a bigger Star Wars fan than you?
I would.
He's got 10 years on you, but
yeah, I would say so. I would say he's pretty. Yeah, I'd say so. He's a very
that's
very
wild.
big
That's
Star Wars
wild.
fan.
Going
I don't know
midnight and
whether
waking up.
like he would know as much. If you talk to him about the original trilogy, he would know. He's kind of like on a different level.
Christmas, yeah.
Well, on a different level to me, like, but the actual entire Star Wars lore, I probably would know a little bit more about, I guess.
But that's fascinating too, because it's Star Wars fans are so weird. Where a lot of us take ownership in Star Wars, right? It's like, oh, Star Wars is well. Do you forget that in this episode of Clone Wars and in this novel?
Yeah.
But like a fan doesn't have to be obsessed. A fan could just watch it every Christmas and can be excited for every movie to come out and can be excited and see the movie multiple times without the obsession of the lore and everything. And I think a lot of people struggle to. A lot of diehard fans struggle to.
Yeah, I actually struggle to watch the animated Star Wars.
I don't think you're alone.
A lot of it, like even Rebels, I watched it and I kind of got into it, but I don't have the affinity with the animated stuff that I do with. I can't sort of get that love for the animated stuff that I do for the movies. I just can't. And like, I don't know whether that's because I didn't see it when they came out and I'm watching it like, you know,
it's a different medium. I think it's a fair comment, and I think it's fair to feel that way. I think it's fair to feel like they coexist together. I think it's subjective, right? And I do think I always say animation is not for everybody, and if you make something animated, you're not going to get like if Andor was a cartoon, which is what Rebels, it's not going to get the same viewership. No. It's not going to be the same. Yeah. And I thought Rebels was a fantastic show. Don't get me wrong.
I have watched it. I have watched most of it and Clone Wars and stuff. But like, I kind of watch it because I want to know what's going on in other areas. But I don't watch it because I love it, which I do with, you know, the movies and the TV shows now. Actually.
So speaking of love, did you love The Force Awakens?
I did. I loved The Force Awakens when it came out. I saw it. I think The Force Awakens is probably the movie I've seen most in the cinema. I might have seen it 5 or 6 times, I think, in the cinema. Force Awakens, yeah.
Me too. Yeah. I think I saw it 6. Brock and I made it a goal to see. We wanted the way it used to. I don't know if it still does, but if you saw a movie if you went to the movies 10 times, you got a free ticket.
Oh, yeah.
We made a joke like we should see it 10 times and then go 11th time for free.
Yeah,
that's a joke.
That's a lot, though.
Yeah, no, I didn't make it. I think I did 5 or 6, and I remember. Brock saw it more. Rob saw it, I think, the most. But I remember going on New Year's Eve in the morning, on New Year's Eve with Brock, my brother-in-law. I think Rob was there. And we went New Year's Eve in the middle. And my brother-in-law had never seen it. And I was seeing it for like the 5th or 6th time. And Brock was seeing for the 8th. I remember just in the theater like, okay, I've seen it enough times to never go again. It was just, it definitely lost all of its luster on me on that one. And
no, I did love it though. I really enjoyed it, and like it was almost kind of it's difficult because I don't. To me at the time, it was like it's Star Wars, but like it's completely different because it's not George Lucas. But at the same time, there's still elements running through it that are the same, you know. And actually, like seeing like there's a lot of things I would have liked to have happened that didn't happen. And having watched, have you seen the thing about Mark Hamill when he talks and he gives hints about what he thought should have happened in the movie? And I was like, oh my God, if that had happened, I'd have died in the cinema. Like stuff like that, you know, when the ground, you know, at the end, because he wasn't obviously in it until the last, and he said, well, you know, when the ground's shaking at the end in the battle and the lightsaber flies over Rey's head and goes into Finn's hand. Is that right? Yeah. And he said, if that was me, I should have been the one to get the lightsaber and like save the day. I would have been like, that was amazing. But like,
well, I think
going into
it, a lot of us suspected that was going to happen going into the movie. And then when you watch the movie, you're like, oh, it's not going to happen.
No, it's not.
I'm not going to get into my thoughts on things.
I think he was quite probably a little bit miffed about that, which is what you get.
Yeah, and I think he got screwed a little. But for me, The Force Awakens I was so excited to see it in the theater.
Yeah.
And I had a smile on my face the whole time. But when I left, I always say this. I compare it to a donut. I love donuts. Look at me.
Yeah.
But they're just empty calories. They're delicious, but they're empty.
Yeah.
And that's what I get from The Force Awakens. It doesn't really do anything. It's kind of like,
yeah.
Why are you here? It's fantastic. It's so much fun and everything, and the characters are great. But it's for me, it just was empty. Like I never got on board. Like I think I had a smile on my face until Rey did the Force. She used the Force mind trick.
Yeah.
And I was like, but why does she even know that that's a thing?
Yeah.
Like that's my thing.
Yeah,
I don't care.
There were a lot of things in it. I was like,
and it's like, oh, this is written by a fan, and and that's how I feel about Luke Skywalker through all of them. I'm like, to me, Luke Skywalker wasn't a hero. He was a hero, but he was a silent hero that no one knew about, and now they made him to be this big myth. And I'm like, that's not.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking the shows are gonna anyway. Whatever. I don't want to get into.
Yeah, I mean, when I heard Mark Hamill say like at the end, I'd never thought about it before, and when he said, "Oh, when the snow shakes and the lightsaber flicks out of the snow and it goes flying through it," I thought, and he said that could have been me holding it. I was like, "Oh my god, yes, it could have been." But at the same time, like it is what it is. Like it's just,
and then that's the thing.
I'm not too disappointed about it,
And what you're saying too is, if it is him, then the trajectory.
Yeah, like the whole thing has to be about him. Then.
That one, the next one, exactly.
Yeah,
so whether you like the next two, we're going to get into them.
Yeah.
Whether you like the next two or not, it changes the course of everything, and it changes whatever they had planned in that movie. So,
and it also downgrades Rey and Finn because it's like, well, you're kind of like don't do anything,
which is
what happens. What happens to Finn anyway? I thought he was like my initial thoughts when I first went to see the movie was that Finn was going to be the Jedi. Like he
they teased it like that. Yeah. See, I thought Finn. When I went into it, I thought Rey was. This is before, and this was just based on the trailers. Rey was Luke, Finn was Han, and Poe was Leia, and that was kind of. I was like, those are our substitutes for those characters.
Yeah,
and I was okay with that. And then I don't know. Then adding Finn being Force sensitive and Rise of Skywalker is like. For what? Like just kind of like for what?
Well, there's a lot of things that are odd about the movies, but I don't really want to just like.
But you also said the prequels have aged well, so maybe we haven't lived with these ones long enough. I don't think because I will be honest, when Rise of Skywalker is on TV or Force Awakens on TV, the odd time I'm watching TV and they're on, I will watch them. I will sit there and watch them, and I will enjoy them. And so you can't take that away. But I didn't mention Last Jedi in that because I want to talk to you about the Last Jedi. Now, I remember
it's
watching.
Not my favorite.
No, it's not. I remember watching this movie in the theater, and I liked it. I did like it. I think I gave it an 8 out of 10. Don't hate me. And people who like it more than that don't. But my biggest problem with this movie, Phil, is you can't talk about it.
Yeah,
because you're wrong.
Yeah,
because you're wrong. No matter who you say something to, you're wrong, right? If you like it, no, it's terrible. If you like it, or if you don't like it, no, it's the best. But you can't talk about it, so it's tough. But I saw it, and I got to be honest with you. When the movie ended, now I saw it in this stupid fan event, which was really stupid. It cost $40 a ticket, Canadian, which is like £1. But it was like it was $40 a ticket. And they gave us like these stupid cards and popcorn, and they let us watch a 4-minute documentary on John Lennon. It was a ripoff. And then the movie comes and ends, and I've never been in a theater at the end of a movie as quiet as I was for The Last Jedi. I could not read the room whatsoever, and I got to know what your thoughts of of The Last Jedi. The first time you saw it, if you can remember the first time, not now, but the first time. Yeah,
I do remember the first time. The first time I kind of walked out of the movie thinking, Luke Skywalker's dead. I was a bit kind of like, wow, they've done something, out of the box a little bit, which is fine. But I did feel like I'd felt disappointed that that's how it ended for him. I think to be honest, I think I would have felt disappointed at any point where he would have died. But I would have liked him to have had a more of a heroic death, like almost Qui-Gon Jinn dying, or Ben Kenobi dying. Like sacrificing himself properly, or not as a hologram. But like I was a little bit disappointed with the way that ended. I think visually it was a stunning movie.
Yeah.
You can't really take away from the visuals of the movie. But the Luke Skywalker wasn't my biggest gripe. That people were actively laughing in the cinema when Leia was flying.
Yeah. That's a tough sell. It's a tough sell.
It's really kind of a little bit. People were like literally people burst into laughter in the cinema and just kind of went. You heard sort of like sighs and oh no's and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it was just a weird movie for me. It just didn't really feel that right to me. But it is what it is. Like, it's the movie now. It's there, and like,
Have you watched it since?
I've watched it. Yeah, I've watched it a few times.
Has your opinion changed at all?
Not really. No. I have watched it, and there's bits about it I enjoy. There are bits about it I enjoy. I think visually it's a stunning movie. I actually really like, although the storyline around Canto Bight is bizarre, that they go there for almost no reason, and
ultimately it's pointless.
Yeah, it's completely pointless. But I actually like Canto Bight as a planet. I thought
it's cool.
It was a great idea. Yeah, it was a great idea.
Yeah.
Canto Bight as this kind of like getaway for mega rich people that have no idea what the Empire do and don't care what they do and just take the money. Like, I kind of like that idea, but the way it was executed was just bizarre to me. It was a little bit odd.
Yeah, I found the movie had a lot of execution problems for me too. That's like the Luke being crazy at the beginning, and then the big giant Muppet fish
and the flow. The milk.
Yeah, there were some choices. Yeah,
the throwing of the lightsaber. It's like that is not really what would have happened. Like,
and then the throwing of the lightsaber wouldn't have been a problem if we didn't wait 2 years for that. And you know what I mean? Like it's like if it would have happened in the Force Awakens, we would have like, oh, what's happening? But we waited 2 years, and it's like, why are you just? And if it had
been an angry throw, if he'd have got it and just been angry and just thrown it off the cliff, but it was like a comical throw, and I was like,
and the music swells in. For me, the movie works when it doesn't try humor, because the humor for me falls flat in that movie, and like the
iron thing.
Yeah, Heidi loves that one. Yeah,
she likes it. Yeah.
Well, that's from an old Star Wars parody show or something. So there's a reference. But anyway, but it's a.
I don't want to hate. I don't want to hate on it because
I think
it is just a movie. Like at the end of the day,
I think for some reason those things just kind of stick out too much, because around it is actually a lot of great stuff.
Yeah,
and it is, I would say, the best looking of the sequels. Force Awakens is a nice looking movie, though. I think people forget that it's actually a nice like. It's a nice looking.
And the opening, I actually quite enjoyed the opening. Sort of like 10-15 minutes with I don't know what her name is, but the Paige is Rose's sister, right?
Rose's sister. Great scene.
Yeah, I mean, like if you take away the scientific things about things floating, but I'm not bothered about that because it's Star Wars, right? But
because it's like, yeah, exactly.
But like, it's actually really, it looks really nice, and like it's got a good feel to it, and she lost her sister, and I like that idea, but I don't think they used Rose very well. I think it was almost a comedy character. But that's why it's last on my list, and if people don't like that, that's fine. Wait, it may be last on my list.
It's a fun. The problem is the good outweighs the bad, but the bad just
it's quite bad. Yeah,
because the rest is so good. It's like the stuff you're like, why? Just did you not have an editor working on this? Sometimes is my thoughts.
Yeah.
Now, so you absolutely hated The Last Jedi, and it turned you into a YouTuber who monetizes hatred, and now you're rich off of it. But you now are going into.
Is that guy still going? What's his name?
Which one?
The one that's got the dartboard in the background.
That's Zero.
Zero, yes. Yeah,
I don't
Mike
know.
Zero.
I think he is. I don't know, but he was
I stopped watching about 2 years ago.
he was doing like what 7 videos an hour.
Oh my god.
He's just like
Fair play though. Fair play to him because he was
Absolutely.
pumping out videos.
When we first started, and
Oh my
like
god.
6 years ago, I was like, "Where
Yeah.
do we get information on Star Wars?" And I just found him because he was like the first thing that popped up. And I
Yeah.
was like, "Is he? What he's like? This can't be real." Like at first, I'm like, "This is 6 years ago, right?" Like, what is it? Like, no way. And then
This
we
guy's
talk
like,
about it. And
yeah.
you're like, this is like nonsense. He goes, well, I have a friend in the industry. I'm like, there's no way.
No.
And then it turned out there was no way. But good. But look,
He like he did it for a long time.
He might
must
still
have
be
put
doing
in.
it.
He must have put work into that. A lot of work.
That's the thing. Like coming up with those lies is like that's tiring. You know.
Yeah.
We did a couple when we first started YouTube. We did a couple bogus videos just for fun, like theory videos.
Yeah.
It was tough. It was a lot of work, and we said we don't like this, so we stopped and we just did podcasts because it's more fun. But let's go into the Rise of Skywalker now.
Okay.
So you're underwhelmed. We'll say underwhelmed by The Last Jedi. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's a good word to use.
Yeah, you're underwhelmed by it. Does that hurt you going into Rise of Skywalker at all? You hear J.J. Abrams was back. What's your thoughts going into that movie?
The thoughts going in. Well, I mean, the thoughts going in were how are they going to get around what was previously done a little bit. What are they going to do? Because Snoke was a big thing, right? And then all of a sudden he's not there, and it's like I thought initially he was going to be the thing. So the Snoke thing, I was a little bit like, what are they? How are they going to explain that? Are they going to explain that? Are they just going to not do anything about it and just say, well, that was what it was? But they're going to have to do something about that. And now who's the baddie? Because Kylo Ren's the lead baddie in a way, but he's also, he's the one that's going to be redeemed essentially, which most people probably thought, well, eventually he's going to be redeemed, right? So there's got to be some kind of ultimate baddie in it. Not knowing before the trailer dropped that Palpatine was going to come back. So I was a little bit apprehensive about it, but quite looking forward to it. I did think it was weird initially that they went sort of so far out of their way to use 3 separate directors. To me, like if you're telling a story in 3 parts, you want to keep some kind of continuity into it. But and then the other guy got fired, didn't he? Was Colin something or other?
Trevorrow, yeah.
Yeah. And they went back to JJ, and I thought, well, at least like they've got the beginning and the end is going to be similar, I guess. And then the middle bit's just going to be like a dream, like a whatever. So yeah, no, I was pretty excited, and once the trailer dropped for the Rise of Skywalker, I was actually really excited. I thought that was, I mean, I like a lot of people don't like it, but I thought the backflip was amazing. I thought, like, if you're going to do a backflip, do it with a lightsaber cutting a TIE fighter in half. Like, it looked great, the trailer. And then you had Palpatine's voice at the end, which was I didn't really like, but because I kind of thought that almost negates the sort of original trilogy, the whole point of the movie. But I thought, well, I mean, they've done weird things with Star Wars, so this is just kind of another thing they're going to do, which is fine, So I was quite excited actually to see the movie and how it was all going to play out. And
you saw it opening night this time?
I did see it opening night, yeah.
And what were your thoughts on it?
I actually remember coming out of the cinema after the Rise of Skywalker, thinking like, I really enjoyed that. I really, really enjoyed not so much the story, because there was things in it I didn't like. But the actual overall feeling I had was quite positive. I think it was. I was kind of like, well, that was quite fun. It was. I quite enjoyed it, and some of the things got cleared up. And I was actually quite positive. I think I emailed you. I think straight after I saw it, because I saw it a little bit before you, and I was like, it's actually pretty good. Like I really enjoed it.
Because of the time difference, you got to see it much before.
Yeah, like 12 hours before you or something.
Yeah.
But like,
not to brag.
No, not to brag. No, but like, and I was like, and there was I think the Rise of Skywalker. I came out of the cinema thinking, oh, that's pretty good. Like it's probably for me at the time, it was probably the best one out of the three.
It's still my favorite of the three prequels, and people
Yeah.
hate on me for that, and I don't care. It does have. There are a lot of problems. I have a lot of problems.
Yeah,
with it.
there's a lot of problems in it.
Yeah,
but
there are. And
at the time, I was like, this is pretty good. It was
It
quick.
was fun. Yeah, it was quick. It was fun. It tied into
Yeah.
the Mandalorian, which came out like a minute before that. You know, like with the Yoda baby Yoda healing. Like it was fun. But the one thing it did for me is it had like a purpose, which I felt like the sequels hadn't had until that point. Not that I even agreed with its purpose so much.
Yeah,
and it annoyed me because right away after The Force Awakens came out, Andrew was like, I think Rey is a Palpatine. And I'm like, I think you're crazy. And then 3 years later, I'm like, oh, you're right.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone
knew. There was a few things that I was kind of like, well, what have you done here? Like, what is going on here? Like when Finn falls into the sand and there's that whole moment of like, I've got to tell you something. And it's like, there's nothing in the entire movie that resolves that. I'm like, even the first time I watched it, I was like, what's that about?
Yeah.
But like maybe it was something that they filmed and then they just cut it out and thought, oh no, notice.
That's one of those J.J. Abrams things that one of the things that I can't stand in The Force Awakens is who's the girl. And it cuts to Han and he has this mischievous look, and then it cuts to Rey, and then there's never an answer.
There's never an answer. Yeah.
And then Rian Johnson's like, I don't really care about that question.
Yeah.
It's like, somebody answer this question. Who's the girl? And I think that really showed the disconnect between Abrams and Johnson.
Yeah.
Clearly, Abrams thought there was something to her, and Rian Johnson's like, she's more interesting as a nobody. Like, there was definitely a disconnect between them there.
I think that was the problem. If JJ had done that entire trilogy, I think it would have been a completely different story. Or if Rian Johnson done the entire trilogy, it might have been different. But it was just weird that they wanted to get three really different directors to do it.
With no continuity, like
with
no
nothing.
One saying like this was the arc, like
this is the story. This is the story we want. And like, do what you want with it, but stay within these kind of it was very strange.
It's the weirdest decision. Okay,
but I think they were almost learning on the job, Disney.
I think they were too, and I think honestly, we're going to talk about the Disney shows now.
Yeah.
As we wrap it up, but because I think now, like Disney, people like to say Disney Star Wars, and people like to say it's not Disney Star Wars, it's Star Wars, and the reality is but it is Disney Star. It's the Disney era of Star Wars, right? And I think. In that era, and I agree that it is just Star Wars, but it's also Disney Star Wars. You're both right. But I think in the era, I think Disney, like you said, was learning on the job, and I think now they've kind of figured it out. I think they figured out what their Star Wars is, which is different from George Lucas's Star Wars, and I think they figured kind of what theirs is. Maybe not theatrically, but on the shows. So let's talk about Mandalorian now. The first taste of of Star Wars on TV. What were your thoughts going into Mandalorian? Were you excited? Were you apprehensive? How did you feel?
Well, if you remember, I was kind of like, why does everybody else in the world get to watch this and I don't? Because I didn't have access to Disney Plus, so I had to illegally I had to download it, illegally, I guess, right? And watch it on an iPad, which wasn't the greatest thing to do. But almost from the outset, it was kind of like, yeah, this is good. Like this is kind of this is storytelling, which I did miss. I thought that the sequels missed the storytelling element of George Lucas, not necessarily for any thing that they wanted to do purposely, but I think if you're a natural storyteller, you can tell stories, and Lucas had that. Mm-hmm. And I think that Favreau and Filoni have got that that sort of storytelling element, and it just seemed to be like, yeah, you get it. They get the world, they get the. I don't want to say they get the fans because like they need to make their own Star Wars, right? But they get the world that it's set in, and they understand Star Wars. I think. Is it horrible to say that they sort of they get Star Wars? I don't think. It's been lacking for a while, and then they came along, and I thought it was really good storytelling, and I thought they brought the elements of Star Wars that were great. They brought back into it. Yeah.
What about second season? Do you have the same feeling?
Yeah, pretty much. I thought the only thing that I didn't like about the Mandalorian was the filler episodes. I thought there was quite a lot of episodes that were kind of like didn't really do anything. There was no through line to the story. But yeah, I generally enjoyed pretty much all of the Mandalorian. Yeah, I liked it. Obviously, they made an absolute cash cow with Baby Yoda, which was
my gosh!
Oh
yeah,
my God. Could you imagine if you're the guy who's gone? I tell you what, this Yoda guy, let's make a baby one and make it cute. Like, unbelievable.
That's the thing. They made him cute.
Got a pay rise. They made him cute and
what
yeah, unbelievable.
What was your first thought on Baby Yoda when you first saw him?
Loved it.
Did you know that it was coming?
No, I didn't know.
No, you were
no,
because
didn't know.
I'm asking because you had to watch it later and you had to like legally.
I kind of got it 2 or 3 days, like once there was a decent stream available, but I'd made a point of not watching it, or going online.
People were good back then, though. With the first season, people were pretty good with not spoiling it. Yeah. Now it's brutal, but back then people were pretty good. Yeah.
And I thought, like, what an unbelievable idea from somebody's sat in a room somewhere and gone and drawn a sketch or whatever and gone, essentially, Baby Yoda.
and you got to think that Kathleen Kennedy, who just got fired,
did she get fired? Did she?
She's just right now, yeah.
Really?
No.
Okay. I didn't know.
No, Kathleen, you got to think that it was an immediate green light, right? She gets the script. Baby Yoda, here's your check. Go make the movie.
I mean, the merchandise, forget about it.
But they held off on it for a year. That's what's even more remarkable.
That's great. That's a great thing to do.
Amazing. Yeah, of course. It paid off in the long run. What did you make
I did enjoy it. I did enjoy it, Mandalorian. I thought it was a great series. It wasn't my favorite, but I did enjoy it. Yeah,
it was a good entry into what Star Wars could be on television.
Yeah. What
about Book of Boba Fett?
Not so much. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I struggled a little bit, like trying to take him seriously as a leading actor. I thought it was kind of like the differences between the Return of the Jedi Boba Fett and him were massive, like in size as well as like, and I did think it was an odd thing to sort of, I to be honest, when Boba Fett came back in the Mandalorian, was it the Mandalorian series? One, was it, or two? I can't remember.
Two, technically two.
Two, and I'd always hoped that Boba Fett was in the Sarlacc pit forever.
Yeah, that was.
And he came back and he walked into the sunset, or he kind of looked out, didn't he? Looked out to the sun at the end of one of the episodes, and it was kind of just turned to the camera. I think that was the first introduction of Boba Fett. Yep. And I thought if that's all we get, I'm happy knowing that story of him getting out of the Sarlacc pit is out there somewhere. I didn't really need the entire storyline played out, to be honest. But we got it, and it was good. It was all right. Yeah, I didn't mind it.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh, Obi-Wan Kenobi, I really liked it. I think Ewan McGregor, for me, he's almost like my Obi-Wan Kenobi. Although,
I mean, he's playing him more.
Like he is. Alec Guinness is there as Obi-Wan Kenobi, but he feels to me just as Obi-Wan as Alec Guinness does.
Oh, he's been at Obi-Wan more.
Yeah, for sure more. Yeah, for sure. But like he feels that like he ticks all the boxes for me with that, and I thought it was a good series. Yeah, I thought it was good. And I think one of the scariest scenes in Star Wars that I've ever seen is when, I don't know if it's the third or fourth episode, when they're in that town and Vader comes through and he's looking for him and he's almost chasing him, but he's walking slowly. And I thought, like, I would be really scared now if I was him. It was a really almost haunting scene where he was like, I don't know what to do. And this is his old adversaries come back, but he's now a complete monster. And the music I thought was fantastic in that. And I thought the way that he was walking slowly, getting closer and closer to him, I felt like that was probably the scariest Star Wars I've ever seen.
My only problem with the Obi-Wan Kenobi show was Vader just kept letting people get away. I was like, just end it.
Yeah. Well, that's almost like in Rogue One when you think when he's walking through at the bit at the end and he's hacking people down.
Yeah.
He's almost waiting and going, oh, you hang up there.
Yeah, I know. He's toying with them.
And you doing that. And you think that, you know, the Death Star plans are literally 5 meters away. You could just do a force rush to get them and just whatever.
Yeah.
And that's it. But yeah. That's the
can't nitpick on everything.
Nah,
I love Obi-Wan Kenobi is a series that is growing on me the more. My problem with it is I feel like it still would have been more effective as a movie. That's
it could have been done because Ewan McGregor's a proper
exactly, and that's
actor,
my one. Every time I watch them, like there's things I'm like that would be better in a movie just because they can. TV shows have more time, but movies flesh little things out more, and they let you. So that's my biggest thing. But it's a.
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
No, it was really good. I'm just like, if Solo didn't bomb, which is your favorite Star Wars movie, if Solo didn't bomb,
I didn't mind it. It's all right.
I like Solo quite a bit. I think
I quite like what's his name is Solo. I think like bring that guy back, right?
He's almost Harrison Ford's age.
He's so good. He's so good. He's so good.
Well, let's go on to the Disney era Han Solo, which is Cassian Andor. This series comes out and there's criticism. It's nothing like Star Wars, and people say it's the best written Star Wars, and you clearly love it.
It is the best Disney Star Wars. I said I think I said the other day it's the best Disney Star Wars since Rogue One. I think it's it's not as in your face action and all that kind of stuff, right? And there's no lightsabers, right? Whatever, or apart from the ones that were on the ship, which was weird, but but it was still cool though.
Which is Star Wars.
Yeah, but I think it's a slow burn, and if you don't have as much patience with programs, which is difficult to come by these days, like having patience with a movie or having patience with a series. Some people don't like that. They want everything every episode, right? But this is there's no filler. I didn't find there was many filler episodes. It's a constant story, but it's a lot slower paced. But I found that the story kept me really engaged the entire series. There wasn't a scene where I was like, well, that doesn't matter. Not really. And I thought that was great. The fact that somebody's written this and it might have been a couple of episodes too long if you're being really critical, but I thought that the story felt like it was an actual story that people were telling. I compared it the other day to E.T. actually, because having watched E.T. as a kid, all I remember is the guy riding the bike and flying, right? But if you watch the first hour of E.T. or the Goonies, right, it's story.
Yep.
There's not much action in those movies. It's like
you remember the action.
But you remember the action, but also you remember how good those stories felt because there was a purpose to what they were doing.
Yes.
And it was like, well, we're going to spend half an hour in the loft sifting through my dad's old stuff. But behind this is an act. There's a meaning to it. There's a story to it. There's everything in the scenes mean things, and it doesn't all have to be like crash bang, you know. And I thought that Andor did that really well. I thought it played it out slowly, but it had meaning behind it, and I felt kind of engaged in that story, you know, quite a lot. So for me, it's the best series that's been on.
And that's why I say that Andor is why I love Star Wars. Mando is why I remember Star Wars. It's like,
Yeah.
those are.
Oh yeah, I mean that Luke Skywalker moment in Mandalorian is like when the X-wing comes through and you're like, oh my god, like
Yeah,
I've watched that scene. I've watched that scene 100 times, but that episode I've probably watched 4 times.
Yeah, but it's the
because
scene.
you just want to watch the end.
Andor thing is brilliant. So what do you make? We'll wrap it up now. Future of Star Wars. We don't know what's happening in the theaters. We know we're getting Ahsoka, Skeleton Crew, some more Bad Batch, which I know you're into the animated stuff, so be watching that opening night. But we're getting what else are we getting? Andor season 2, which started shooting now.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the future of Star Wars? You confident that it's gonna keep improving, or are we getting too much too soon?
I think as long as you get the right people, we'll be fine. I think Filoni and Favreau seem to have their finger on the pulse quite well. For me, it's going to be a little bit different because I don't really watch the animated stuff, so I'm going to get less because I'm not going to watch the Bad Batch probably. I haven't seen the first series. I'll watch Ahsoka because that's live action, isn't it?
Yep.
So I'll watch that. There is a movie coming out. I can't remember. There was some news the other day, like somebody's making a movie or something.
There's rumors that one's going into production soon, and Sean Levy, he's tapped to do one, but he's doing Deadpool 3 still, so I don't.
Okay, we're still waiting for the Ron Johnson trilogy.
He's saying that's still he's still thinking about it, but he's got to do his third. He has to do his third Knives Out movie. I wouldn't hold my breath on that. Yeah,
but I'd love to see Andor 2, which is obviously it's already going to be done. I think. I think we're pretty in safe hands, really. I don't really, as long as they keep going. I think the sequels, for me were kind of like Disney got it, and they were like, well, we need to do something now, and then it felt rushed, and it felt like we kind of learned, like I said before, like learning on the job, and I don't think they had enough Star Wars people in it to really succeed that well. And I think they've got that now. I think Filoni and Favreau are pretty good. And even if they don't do everything, like they're going to pick the right people to do the right things, I think. I'm pretty optimistic. I've got to be optimistic.
What more can you ask for? One more question before I let you go. What planet do you think, because I know you're a big wine guy, what planet do you think would produce the best wine, and what character do you think would have the best appreciation of a fine wine?
Oh, goodness me. What would produce the best wine? Well, it couldn't be Tatooine because it's far too hot.
Could you imagine if it was?
It couldn't be Hoth because it's far too cold. Possibly Endor might be all right.
Oh, Endor.
As long as it gets like Endor. Naboo. Yeah.
Half of Naboo's Italy anyway, so.
Yeah. Is that where it is? Is that where it's set?
Some of it, yeah. How about
Kashyyyk, maybe?
Kashyyyk could. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah. And who's got the finest taste in wine in Star Wars lore?
Hux.
No way. He's a shandy drinker. We drink a shandy. No chance. Yeah. Yoda would be on mead. He'd have some kind of mead.
Yeah.
Luke doesn't drink.
No.
He's too dedicated. Watto, possibly.
Really, Watto?
Yeah, he'd have a couple of really old bottles, wouldn't he? Like vintage bottles they'd be selling off. Yeah, Watto'd be all right. Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
I love it. Watto it is. I love Watto. I'm going to go
Endor would be good for wine.
Endor. See, I think fine wine drinker, I think I would go with probably like a Mon Mothma's husband.
Yeah.
He would probably not. He'd pretend. He'd fake it. He'd pretend that he liked a nice fine wine. But really, it would probably be like, I don't know. That's a good question. The question for another day. Saw Gerrera likes the finest wines you can think of.
That was a good planet, actually, where, what's his name?
Ferrix?
No. Like where Thingy lived. Thingy. That's a good one, isn't it? Urso, Galen Urso, that planet.
Oh,
He
right.
had
Yeah,
palms, and
yeah.
that was
He
all right.
was a
That
moist
would have been a
planet.
kind of moist
Yeah.
planet. That would have been a good planet.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
he had a
Maybe
good. He looked quite Italian as well, so he might have
he
been.
looked like he would like some wine too. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
he
Looks like
likes a good wine.
he would
Yeah.
like it. All right, that's gonna wrap up this episode of the Outlander Club. Phil, thanks so much for joining us. Is there anything you want to plug? Do you have anything to plug other than England's
Nah.
recent win in the World Cup?
Yeah, come on, England. We got Wales. Well, by the time this goes out, we haven't got Wales tomorrow, but we have got
No.
Wales tomorrow at the moment. And I shall be watching. You know, we might win, we might lose.
Gotta stay
But
positive.
apart from that, no, yeah, got to stay positive, haven't you?
There you go. All right, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Thank you so much. Give us a like and a subscribe. And until next time, may the force of others be with you.
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.